Hello everyone and welcome back to the Great Book of Grudges. My name is Nathan and yeah, we've got some news today. 6.1 is coming in mid-March, but Creative Assembly have decided to release a blog with all the information, including a rather large Kislev rework, a rework towards Kairos himself, and some brand new units. So let's read over that. We've got a little bit of an intro here. Greetings, this time around you get me, William Hackstead, I've probably mispronounced that, sorry dude, game designer, here to talk to you about the upcoming content for the 6.1 patch. So up front, let's talk about why. Alongside the release of 6.1, we're planning to change how Shadows of Change is sold by splitting the free legendary lords into standalone packs that can even be purchased individually or as a bundle. So we're taking this opportunity to revisit a pain point that was raised with the original release. One of the consistent messages we've heard loud and clear from the community was that there was not enough attention given to the existing content in lieu of new content, so we're taking a crack at equalizing that a bit now. As a heads up, each of the pieces of content in this article are at various stages of development, which limits what we can say confidently or what images we can show for specific features, as the specifics are liable to change as we continue to chisel out what works, what doesn't work, and what our code department will let us maverick designers get away with. So that, and usually it's going back and forth for approval from Games Workshop because they are pretty annoying when it comes about these things, I imagine. So yeah, let's talk about this. I like the idea that they're finally fixing up Shadows of Change. The idea of race reworks, Kislev desperately needed one. Let's jump in with Kislev. So, Court and Orthodoxy. Keep in mind that we haven't gotten the images directly, so it can actually just ruin the quality if we zoom in too much. Up front, the supporter race is no more. Oh god, good. When we started looking at how we wanted to approach Kislev in a 2.0 core feature set, we concluded that we wanted to wipe this slate clean. Keep the themes and ideas intact, but shed the baggage of the existing system. The core of the new feature is still building support for the two dominant institutions within Kislev, but the end goal and process are significantly changed. Naturally, what you're seeing there is a work in progress. Let's continue here. In the new system, you will accrue support for either side of the conflict via a variety of actions, including fielding relevant units, using thematically aligned agents, constructing buildings, and dedicating your atomins. As you raise support, you will receive boons from these major factions, presenting you with a secondary progression mechanic that lets you get powerful benefits. Curry favors with the Orthodoxy to improve your common line troops, strengthen your economy, and improve your invocations. And support the Ice Court in order to improve your elite infantry, spellcasting, and hero usage. This is actually sounding pretty damn good. A key change here, however, is that there is no longer a race. Instead, supporting only one side of the conflict can cause rising unrest and invite disorder into Kislev. In the face of the growing threat of chaos, Kislev must seek unity. Therefore, players are encouraged to balance the support they curry for each of the factions. You may favor one, but favoring two too strongly incurs the wrath of the other. Okay, this sounds pretty cool. I do wonder how confederations are going to be done, because that's how you confederated mostly with Catherine and Constantine. But yeah, this actually sounds pretty interesting. We can see that there's battle, character, settlement, global, and magic. This is obviously using like some basic stuff there, so that's why they said it's work in progress. But it's looking a lot better. The problem with the race was it was basically lifted from Total War Saga Troy, where it was literally just like the Troy race, and it wasn't good, especially as the AI would cheat its way faster, so you would miss out on a lot of stuff. The fact that the race is gone is a very big testament that Creative Assembly have been starting to listen a lot more, so I'm quite happy about that. Alright, Devotion now. Another aspect of the Kislev feature we're set on taking a crack at. Devotion is moving from a faction-wide resource to a provincial one, replacing control for Kislev. Oh, okay. Representing the fervor of the local populace, it acts much like control, but can be spent on local invocations to temporarily boost the local province, or empower an army temporarily. A core tenet of the Kislev approach is that they are the strongest at home and prefer well-settled core territories. A high level of devotion also allows Kislev to counteract the penalties of climates, allowing them significant settling flexibility in exchange for a slow ramp up to suitability, and making the territory unsuitable for using invocations, as these would immediately make the province take climate penalties again. All pictures in these articles are work in progress. Yeah, we see that. That's pretty cool. So it's using the same system that we've had for like Sinesh and so on with like, you know, the pleasurable acts, but it's using the build-up of devotion. And also, I really like this actually because it's kind of like expanding the whole old Kislev Empire. If you didn't know, Kislev's empire wasn't so small before the Great War Against Chaos, which is funny enough in the old world. They pushed all the way and they had their empire pretty much right next to Cathay. So it was huge. So you can get there if you just don't use any invocations and you can build in essentially Chaos territories. Yeah, that sounds really cool. I like this. This is really interesting. Because a lot of things with Kislev is you were kind of just incentivized to stay home, right? It's a little expansion, but it wasn't really the best, as you didn't want to push down into the south because you didn't want to fight with your possible allies. This is pretty cool. I can't wait to try this out. Alright, there's a change coming for Atamans. It looks like it's quite extensive because it was just a wall of text. While the core idea of Atamans is strong, we felt like we could go further. So here's a short list of things we're looking at for the Atamans. Atamans can no longer be permanently recruited on the campaign map as a standard lord to lead an army. We felt this muddled their identity as garrison commanders and didn't fit the spirit of the feature. Fair enough, yeah, it does make sense. Atamans now enable a feature for settlements tentatively called Garrison Sally Attack, where you command settlements managed by them to engage enemies within a limited distance, as if the settlements themselves were armies. Of course, the capital of the province is led by an Ataman themselves, who will take the field with the garrison during his attack. Okay. Atamans now have a unique battle loadout, dropping the offensive dual weapon loadout of the standard boyar for a much more staunch shield, axe, and pistol kit. Oh, cool. See, this is why I'm saying that we need weapon options for lords and heroes, kind of like in the tabletop. That's actually kind of nice. Yeah, they're more defensive. It makes sense. And finally, Atamans now have a skill tree and gain experience while administrating settlements, allowing them to improve their governing strength, their garrisons, and dedicate themselves to the sex to improve your support. Pretty cool. Okay, yeah, that sounds pretty interesting. So you'll still be able to use them, and they'll still be active lords. They just won't always be on the campaign map, which is good. I have seen a lot of people just like using Atamans, which is kind of weird. So now it's with the incentivization of they're there, you've got all the other lord options, they're there when you need it, basically. Which if they start improving the AI, which has been slowly happening, we might see reasons to summon them and actually use them. This is going to be really interesting to see, actually, I think. Alright, the tech tree now. This one's the big one. The Kislev tech tree is getting a full refresh, being reorganized and revamped, subdivided into a triplet layout centered around the 3 core gameplay pillars of Kislev. Okay, so the land, the people, the state. This is nice, actually. Yeah, you know, this technology that was introduced with the Forge of the Chaos Dwarves is doing wonders for the game. I know tech tree might not be the big thing for a lot of people, but believe me, it is part of your core gameplay loop. Our goal here is to significantly open up your choices, making Kislev have quite an open and navigable tech tree with many possible starts and short paths to end the line of techs, with a variety of new and improved technologies. So there's like Bulwark of the Tsarina, which increases armor for 10 for the Zargard, and also gives them charge defense versus large. That's pretty good. It's also very important to know, it's confirmed in the blog, that tech trees now is no longer locked behind the whole owning capital cities, which is just, yeah, it was ridiculous. So this is nice. This is actually really, really nice. I'm super happy about it. So that's the end of Kislev in terms of like the rework. It's a small rework, but it is pretty promising, I think. Everything else, like building and so on, was perfect. Yeah, really, it was like, this is the main issues. The tech tree, I wasn't expecting at all. We kind of got told a little bit about the devotion and stuff, but this is a very, very big surprise for me. I'm happy about that. Alright, we're going to talk about Tzeentch, which is mostly Kairos, and this goes into a lot of game design, actually, which is kind of interesting. So, Tzeentch, Fragments of Sorcery. While Kislev is our main offering in this patch, we've also got something for Tzeentch to chew on. Our focus this time around is on Kairos, who represents our intended standard Tzeentch experience. It's clear to us that the original Fragments of Sorcery implementation wasn't quite up to snuff, so here's our take 2. For a gameplay angle, the feature needs a little explanation. The core promise of the Fragments of Sorcery feature was versatility to build your own composite lore, and the design quickly narrowed into a true any combination you want feature that completely did away with the idea of an auxiliary slot and moved the decision making to its own tab of the character detail panel. While we're at it, how about we draw back the curtain a bit and showcase how a feature is visually concepted following the core concepting and preliminary technical documentation. We start with what's called a mock-up. Usually the first ones are made by the feature designer, who puts together a visual focused primarily on the functionality to take the UI UX teams for refinement. Okay, this is kind of interesting. Not every first idea makes it past this phase, and a mock-up is particularly helpful for considering the hypothetical UX flow of a feature. For example, here's the first mock-up of the hypothetical build a lore panel for Kairos. Hold on your pants. Oh my god! that is pretty busy. I mean, even the dev says it here, you know, can you believe I never put amazing technical artist on my CV? Yeah, no, I get that, dude. I get that. That's super, super busy. Obviously, while this outlines a lot of technical requirements for the feature, it also highlights the flaws of a design translated from the original technical specs, perhaps a bit too closely. Information overload is saying it lightly, but a little refinement goes a long way. Yeah, I mean, that was way too much. That is way too much. The second take after I was done wincing at the first mock-up looked like this. Okay, this actually does look a little bit better. It's a bit of a wheel, right? I like it. It's actually, funny enough, it just kind of gives you a bit of Slipknot vibes when you look at the 8-gram, I guess. Obviously, this isn't the final result, there's more, but this shows how stuff actually gets improved upon. Can't zoom in too much, unfortunately, because it just starts losing quality, because I'm not recording on like a blog that we get in advance, like the web page. We actually just get like a PDF file which has this. This is how it works for us when we get the early access blogs. Alright, here's the next section. The core idea of matching the visuals of the in-battle spell wheel struck a chord, and the combination of the technical specs and the mock-up went into UI UX, who quickly whipped up our first grey box, and it's looking a lot prettier now, actually, a lot prettier. So when you click a spell, it'll then open a panel on the side, and then you've got the choices there with the two heads of Kairos. These grey boxes are interactive and can be used to trial the intended flow, letting us pretend to use the feature in a controlled environment to see how it feels to navigate. Happy with the overall direction, we moved the feature to sketch the layout, including investigating our art direction. So they had them starting to put in the proper full Zinch logo and so on. Yeah, I mean, I like this explanation. These things are really nice to know. Next sections here, we prototyped a couple of different visual styles. So you've got those there. But the idea of a massive central eye watching your cursor was a bit of a visual flair we never let go. I mean, yeah, it makes sense for Zinch, doesn't it? Overall, yeah, like the design is very, very pretty, and you can see that you can start picking up different spells. I'm assuming that then it's like half a lore per side. I don't know. I mean, it's looking pretty damn good. The passive and then 8 spells, I guess. And here we are at the final section. Everything is a process, and at each stage, stakeholders from design and UI came together to weigh in on the direction, keeping the things we liked and discarding or improving the things we didn't. Yeah, that's looking pretty damn good. So yeah, that's actually looking really, really cool. Here you can see one of the key feedback points being handled, making the holders for the spell icons feel more integrated in the outer ring. And then you can see the spells there. This would be, I guess, into battle. So the twin heads of Kairos know 4 lores apiece. The UI is designed to invoke this bit of lore. So half of the lore of life will be in one head, and the other half of life will be in the other head. That's great. So you can go full lore. You don't have to. I like the idea of this. This is going to make Kairos quite interesting to play. I wonder if it's going to really make people play Kairos a bit more. It's obviously not a lot of changes for Zinch. We do know that this patch isn't showing everything just yet. Like, this document isn't showing everything, so maybe a few value changes here and there. This could potentially be quite good for Kairos. He has needed a bunch of attention. He's supposed to be one of the greatest spellcasters in Warhammer Fantasy, and this might be a bit better for him. Alright, we got the Changeling now. Why not the Changeling? The Changeling is a complicated topic. We've been keeping an eye out on a lot of the discussions surrounding him, and I had some pretty intense ones internally. But here's where we stand today. The Changeling has resonated strongly with people in both negative and positive ways. We've seen a lot of intense discussions surrounding topics like challenge and what a campaign needs to be in order to be a total war campaign, a fascinating topic in itself. But while the conversation has very passionate people calling out for significant change, the consensus isn't so clear. We see his fans, the people who revel in the departure from the regular structure of a campaign and the freedom from a typical threats and concern. We also have to respect the data, which shows that he sits close to a 50-50 split on play rate with Kairos, and that he enjoys regular middle-of-the-road popularity on a new campaign pick rates. I mean, let me just say here, Tzeentch hasn't really played a lot, so being a 50-50 split with one of two options I don't think is a massive thing. Like, maybe now Kairos is going to spike up in popularity because of his changes. If we had new stuff there with like a proper Tzeentch rework, or maybe if we had a third legendary lord like VIKRAM, I don't think people would be playing the Changeling that much. It's a one and done. So let's continue here. Internally, we've taken to calling him a Marmite faction. You love him or hate him. And we've decided that for 6.1, we'll be leaving things as they are for the Changeling. Not every campaign can be for everyone. Does this mean we'll never change the Changeling? Pun somewhat intended. Probably not. He's a bit of a wild card, and there's definitely some rough edges to deal with, and we felt like for 6.1 our focus should be raising the elements that make Kairos unique, instead of risking losing the magic that makes the Changeling work for its fans. This isn't an end to the conversation. We'd love for those passionate discussions to continue. Rest assured, we read them and discuss them. Well, this is the thing, right? Keep him the same, but just at the start of your campaign allow you to pick what theater you start in. It's that simple. It's stuff that's been suggested multiple times. I've done videos on it. I know other content creators have said stuff like that too. It's a common thing. It's the problem with the Changeling is it's the same start all the time. If he could start in all the different theaters, well, that's great. That gives you reason to start a brand new campaign. It's not a bad campaign, it's just a one and done when it's the same start each and every time. But other than that, like, it is very unique and very cool. 2 new free units are joining in this patch. Oh my god, that is amazing unit card art. That's how all unit cards should be from now on, which is kind of cool. So it's one for Grand Cathay and one for the Ogres, interestingly enough. So the first is the Nangao Grenadiers for Grand Cathay. For Cathay, who was part of the original Shadows of Change, we have a new human unit to add some specialist tools for your army building. The Nangao Grenadiers are relatively cheap grenade-slinging infantry, vulnerable due to their low entity count, but armed with significant stockpile of grenades to disrupt and destroy massed enemies, so they're going to be anti-horde. They also carry a specialist stun grenade, which, at baseline, allows them to significantly impair the combat ability of all enemy units in a large radius once per battle. The Grenadiers move around the battlefield, supporting allied troops with stun bombs and scattering infantry with volleys of grenades. Yeah, that sounds pretty interesting. It's going to be, I guess, using the peasant, the Nangao Gunners baseline model, and then just adding some new stuff, which is pretty cool. I do wonder what this means, because obviously we haven't really seen a Cathay book just yet, even though it's been hinted for the old world. But yeah, I mean, this could be pretty interesting. Hey, I'm in for it, right? A new unit is a new unit, and that's always great. I like the idea of these patches introducing one-offs, which are going to be cheap and easy to make, but still add a little bit of value to the game for the future. Gnoblar Flingers, so these are for the Ogre Kingdoms. Hailing from the same Gnoblar army list that gave us the Pigback Riders for Omens of Destruction, the Gnoblar Flingers are a cheap, weak ranged unit for the Ogres that engage in significantly lower ranged than the hand-thrown weapons of the Trappers. Most akin to the Skaven Slave Singer, if by the barest smidge a little braver, these malicious Gnoblars exist to harass enemy units from the safety of the back line, particularly adept at annoying brave halberd units who shrewd a shield in order to take on the large ogre entities this faction normally fields. Yeah, I mean, another Gnoblar unit I guess makes sense. I don't know why they're using the Age of Sigmar base version. You can find the normal ones online, or they could have asked Games Workshop or something. The circle bases are heretical. But other than that, I mean, it makes sense, just finish off the ogres once and for all. I don't really think they're going to get anything else now. And honestly, they're fine. They don't really need anything else, so that's pretty damn good. Yeah, it's nice to see more stuff from that It was a White Dwarf list, wasn't it? Yeah, it was a White Dwarf list. So yeah, it's nice to see that. And that's it. Overall, it's not too bad. They've got some more stuff coming out in the patch because not everything's covered. They just want to show off stuff here. And it doesn't seem there's more coming to Kislev. They want to tweak some stuff about the Ice Court character recruitment, which, yeah, sounds good. Yeah, it sounds good. I'm pretty excited. Obviously, it's depending on how everything works. If, everything works as intended, I think is probably the best way of saying it. We have to wait until mid-month for this, so I'm guessing, let's look at the calendar, probably around the 13th, I guess. Do they normally drop patches on Thursdays? I think they do. We'll have to wait and see. Sometimes it's just Tuesday, so it would be the 11th. Either way, it's still like 2 weeks to go. I like that they're communicating a lot more here. I think it's quite important, especially for the future of the game. Just the overall health is pretty good to talk about. And patches like this are quite welcome, especially fixing up Kairos a little bit, fixing up the core issues with Kislev, because Kislev has fallen dramatically behind compared to, say, for example, Cathay, which is why Cathay is likely not getting anything this patch, barring the Naldor Grenadiers. The Cathay faction as a whole feels really, really good. Same thing with most of the Demon factions. But yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Let's start a bit of a discussion. Obviously, remember, I'll try to upload the link because we don't have a link to this early, which can be kind of frustrating. But yeah, I think people are going to be quite excited about this, especially about the Kislev stuff, because a lot of people, including myself, were very excited about Kislev and just kind of disappointed with how they launched and so on. And then obviously the Shadows of Change stuff. No change to Mother Ostankia, but that was kind of expected. But yeah, have a great day, everyone. I'll see you all again very, very soon.